I've been asked a lot lately about making a video specifically on compositions. I've had a really hard time figuring out how to explain my process. Usually I see patterns, leading lines or good light. It feels intuitive, and personally I think it's really hard to teach or explain intuition. However, that's something I'm going to try today. Hi, hello everybody, welcome back to a new video, hope you're all well. A few days ago I saw this post on Threads. A photographer posted this shot of a chair, asking for advice on the edit. They said the photo felt boring to them even after color grading it, and they didn't know what to change. When I looked at that photo the photographer posted, I didn't really think the edit was the problem. The composition was off. The problem, in my opinion of course, this is very subjective, but the problem in my opinion is that they were standing too close to the chair. They had filled the frame with the chair, which turned it into a photo of furniture. If they just had stepped back, we would have seen the beach, the weather, and the context. It would have changed the question from "here's a chair" to "why is there a lonely chair on this beach?" And that is exactly what I want to talk about today. How to stop capturing objects and start capturing scenes. So how do I actually explain that intuition? Well, I realized that my gut feeling usually comes down to ignoring one specific rule. When we first start learning photography, we look for rules to give us structure. We learn about the rule of thirds and leading lines and whatnot, and we're told to fill the frame. And don't get me wrong, these are really good rules. They are necessary to learn. They teach us to be intentional. But I think filling the frame is the one that gets misunderstood the most. We tend to interpret this literally. We think it means making the main object, the person, the car, or the chair in this case, touch the edges of the photo. We think that if the subject is big, the photo is successful. But for my style of photography, I tried to think about it a little differently. Instead of just the subject, I like to break down the frame into acting subjects and supporting subjects. Take this shot of a windmill I shot a few weeks ago. The acting subject is obviously the windmill itself. It's the main character. If I followed the fill the frame rule literally, I would have walked closer to make sure that acting subject dominated the shot. But if I did that, I would have lost the supporting subject, which is this massive shadow stretching across the field. In this composition, the supporting subject is actually taking up more space than the windmill, and without it, the photo loses its drama. Well, look at this tree in the field. The tree is the acting subject, but it takes up maybe 10% of the frame. A beginner might zoom in to fill the frame with the tree, but by doing that, you cut out the supporting subject, the empty white snow. The snow is what tells you it's cold, it tells you it's silent, it sets the stage. If you remove the supporting subject, the acting subject is just standing there. It becomes a photo of a tree, rather than a photo about winter. So when I see that thread post with a chair, I don't see a bad edit. I see a missing cast member. They filled the frame with the acting subject, which is the chair, but they cropped out the supporting subject, which is the beach and the weather. And that is usually where that boring feeling comes from. It's not the subject's fault, it's that the subject has no support. Now, there is a danger here. If you step back and give your subject a lot of space, you don't automatically get a better photo. You might just get a messy one. If the supporting subject, the background, is going to take up 80 to 90% of your frame, you can't just ignore it. You have to organize it. You have to give the empty space a job. And job number one is guidance. In this shot, the empty space isn't just grass and gravel, it's a road. I positioned the supporting subject, the road, to act like a rope, pulling the viewer's eye through the empty space and landing them right on the acting subject, which is the barn. The space isn't empty, it's active. And job number two is weight. Sometimes the empty space needs to be heavy. In the windmill shot, I didn't just leave a blank field. I used the light to cast this massive shadow. The shadow fills the void. It gives the supporting subject texture and weight, so it balances out the tall windmill. Without the shadow, the field is just empty space. With the shadow, it's part of the story. And job number 3 is balance. Sometimes there isn't a clear line or a shadow. In this harbor shot, the acting subjects are the two pier ends. They are tiny, but look at the space between them. It's perfectly symmetrical. The blue water and sky create a clean, balanced stage for the piers to sit on. The job of the space here is to create calm. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jimmy, that's easy for you to say. You shoot minimalistic landscapes. Of course you can have empty space. But I shoot street photography. I shoot chaos. And that's a fair point. But here's the thing. This principle, acting versus supporting, doesn't mean the frame has to be empty. It just means the environment has to be visible. One of my favorite photographers, Alex Webb, does this beautifully. His style is completely different from mine. It's vibrant, layered and complex. But look at this shot. The acting subjects are the two men talking in the light. They are actually quite small in the frame. If Webb had filled the frame with them, we would have just seen two silhouettes. Boring. Instead, he stepped back, he allowed the supporting subject, which in this case is the deep geometric shadows of the architecture, to take up most of the image. The darkness creates the mystery. Or look at this one. The acting subject is the man bending backward, but look how much context surrounds him. He stayed wide enough to let the colors be the supporting subject. The blocks of yellow and red are what makes the composition work. Whether it's the texture of gravel in the Caribbean or the texture of snow in Sweden, if you crop it out, you lose the feeling of being there. But here's the problem. Our brains are hardwired to focus on the thing. When we see something cool, our instincts tell us to isolate it. We see the actor and we naturally forget the stage. So if we weren't supposed to focus on the subject, what are we supposed to look for instead? The answer is actually quite simple. You have to train your eye to see the support first and the subject second. When I'm walking around, I'm not just looking for empty space. I'm hunting for structures that will organize that space. Here are the two specific things I look for. The first thing is shadows as walls. In this street shot, the scene was actually quite messy, but I saw the light. I stepped back to let that deep diagonal shadow cut across the foreground. It acts like a wall. It pushes your eye away from the bottom corner and forces you to look at the red details in the sun. The shadow isn't just darkness, it's a guide. I did the same thing in this shot by the coast. I positioned this massive dark wall on the left to take up almost 40% of the frame. It acts like a barrier. It blocks the empty space and funnels your vision straight to the couple walking in the light. If I had zoomed in on just the couple, you would lose the scale. But stepping back and using the shadow as a wall, quite literally, the couple becomes the payoff. And the second thing is layering. Instead of zooming in on a single building, I tried to find layers. You have the dark shadow in the immediate foreground, the illuminated street in the middle ground, and the brick texture in the background. By stepping back, I compressed these layers together. The space between them creates depth. It makes the viewer feel like they're standing in the street, not just looking at a building. However, there is a massive exception to everything I've just said. Is filling the frame always bad? No, absolutely not. There is a specific time where getting closer and excluding the context is exactly the right choice. It's when you're shooting abstracts or texture. In this shot of the frost on the wooden post, the story is the texture. I don't need to know where the post is. I don't need to see the field behind it. If I included the background here, it would distract from the details of the ice. Or this shot of the snow patterns. Here I want to isolate the subject. I want to confuse the scale. I want the viewer to get lost in the lines and the light. In these cases, the object is the subject. I think that's when you should fill the frame. So here's the summary. If you're trying to tell a story about a scene, where you are, what the weather is like, the mood, step back. Don't just show us the actor, show us the stage they're standing on. But if you're trying to capture a texture or an abstract feeling, get close, isolate it, remove the context. The mistake isn't filling the frame. The mistake is doing it when you're meant to tell a story. At least that's how I see it. I could be wrong. So, going back to the photographer on Threads, the reason their photo felt boring wasn't because of the edit, in my opinion. It was simply they shot a scene, a lonely chair on the beach, with the composition of an abstract, like a tight product shot. Next time you go out, try to decide before you lift the camera, am I shooting a story or am I shooting a texture? The answer will tell you exactly where to stand. So I hope you actually got something out of this, because I feel like I'm extremely bad at explaining my process of compositions, because usually I just see the scene, which isn't helpful for anyone who's wanting to learn. So yeah, hopefully the video made sense in some way. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a like and consider subscribing. I appreciate it so much. But until next time, have a good day or evening whenever you're watching this. Out.